After this, Basaleel made the ark of shittim wood and 2.5 cubits long, and 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. He covered it with gold to the inside and outside, and made a crown of gold all around it. And he cast it into 4 rings of gold for the 4 corners. That is, 2 rings for one side and 2 rings for the other side. He also made slats of shittim wood and covered them with gold. And he put the rods in the rings on the sides of the ark, to support the ark. He made the merciate of the pure gold. 2 cubits and a half was its length, and 1 cubit and a half was its width. He made 2 cherubim of gold at both the ends of the merciate. He made them of wood beaten with a hammer, a cherub on one end and another cherub on the other. Of the merciate, he made the cherubim at the 2 ends. The cherubim spread their wings over them and covered the merciate with their wings, and their faces were toward each other, toward the merciate, were the faces of the cherubim. He also made a board of shittim wood, 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide, and 1.5 cubits high. He covered it with fine gold and made a crown of gold all around it. He also made it a border the width of a hand all around it, and he made on the border a crown of gold all around it. He cast 4 rings of gold and placed them in the 4 corners that were at its 4 feet. Against the edge were the rings, as places for the rods that were to support the table. He made the slats of shittim wood and covered them with gold to support the table. He also made instruments for the table of pure gold, plates for the table, cups for the incense, goblets for the table, and cups for the table, with which it was to be set. In the same way, he built the candlestick of pure gold. The candlestick was made of material beaten with a hammer. Its shaft, its branches, its bolet, its nuts, and its scales were of one piece. Out of its sides came 6 branches, 3 branches of candlestick on one side and 3 branches of candlestick on the other side. In one branch were 3 bubbles like almonds, a point, and a flower, and in the other branch 3 bubbles like almonds, a point, and a flower. And so for all the 6 branches that came out of the candlestick. On the candlestick were 4 bubbles like almonds, with their tips and leaves. That is, for every 2 branches a knot for the 2nd branch and a knot for the 3rd branch, according to the 6 branches that went out from it. Their knots and their branches were of the same kind. It was all one wrought work of pure gold. He made for it 10 lamps, with their sprouts and their spouts, covered of pure gold. With 1 talent of pure gold he made it with all its instruments. Moreover, he made the altar of perfumes of wood of shittim. Its length was 1 cubit, its breadth 1 cubit. It was square, and 2 cubits high, and its horns were of the same material. And he clothed it with pure gold, both of the top and the sides, all around about. And the horns he made it a crown of gold, all around about. And he made it 2 rings of gold under the crown at the 2 corners of the 2 sides, to put rods on it, to hold it up. He also made the bars of wood of shittim and covered them with gold. He made the anointing oil and pure fragrant incense according to the art of the apothecaries. He also made the altar of the burnt offering from wood of shittim. Its length was 5 cubits and its width 5 cubits. It was a square, and 3 cubits high. He made him horns at the 4 corners. The horns were of the same wood, and he covered it with brass. He also made all the instruments of the altar, to the ashtrays, the vessels, the basins, the meat hooks, and the censers. All the instruments he made of reeds. Moreover, he made the lattice of bronze, worked like a net for the altar, below its surface and at its center of it. And he cast 4 bronze rings at the 4 ends of the lattice to put bars on it. He made the slats of shittim wood and covered them with brass. He put the slats into the rings at the side of the altar to carry it. Then he made it hollow within the boards. He also made the lower of reeds and its lower part of reeds of the glasses of the woman who gathered and met in the center of the tabernacle of meeting. Finally, he made the courtyard of the south side, all on the south side. The coverings of the courtyard were of finely woven linen, measuring 100 cubits. Their pillars were 22, and their sockets 22. The hooks of the pillars and their fillets were of silk. On the north side, the slopes were 100 cubits, their pillars were 20, and their sockets of bronze. 20 and their hooks of the pillar and the fillets were of silk. Also on the west side were slats of 50 cubits, then 10 columns with 10 sockets, the hooks of the columns and the fillets of silk. Toward the east side, in the full east, there were slats of 50 cubits. The vestment on one side were 50 cubits. There are 3 columns and there are 3 sockets. On the other side of the gate of the courtyard. On both sides were banners of 50 cubits. Their pillars and their 3 sockets. All the coverings of the courtyard all around were of finely twisted linen. The bases of the pillars were of reeds. The hooks of the pillars and the fillets of silk, the caps of silk, and all the pillars of the courtyard were encircled with silk. He also made the vestment of the gate of the courtyard with needle cloth, of white silk, purple, scarlet, and finely twisted linen, 20 cubits long and 5 cubits high, like the vestment of the courtyard. The pillars were 4, with their 4 brass sockets, their silk hooks, their silk headdresses, their silk fillets. All the pins of the tabernacle and of the courtyard round about were of brass. These are the parts of the tabernacle, that is, the tabernacle of testimony, which was built by the commandment of Moses for the office of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron, the priest. Bezalel, the son of Ri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, did all that the Lord had commanded Moses. With him Eliab, the son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, a skilled worker, an embroiderer and needle worker in puff silk, in purple, in tights, and in fine linen, all the gold employed in all the works done for the holy place, which was the gold of the rings. Ring was 29 talents and 730 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. But the amount of gold of these who were numbered in the congregation was 100 talents, and 100,225 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary, a portion for each man, that is, half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary, for all those who had been numbered from the age of 20 years on, were between 600,000 and 300,050 men. Moreover, there were 100 talents of torpedoes to make the sockets of the sanctuary and the sockets of the sailing ship, 100 sockets of 100 talents, a talent for a socket. He also made the hooks for the pillars, to the value of 1,050 shekels, and he covered the hoods of them, making fillets around them. The cloth of the offering also was 70 talents, 2,400 shekels, and he made the bases of the tabernacle of meeting, and the altar of bronze, and the lattice of bronze was thereon, with all the instruments of the altar. The sockets of the courtyard round about, the sockets for the door of the court, all the pins of the tabernacle, and all the pins of the court round about. Moreover, they made the garments for the ministry in the sanctuary of raw silk, purple, and wool. They also made the holy garment from Aaron, as the Lord had commanded Moses. They then made the ephod of gold, of raw silk, purple, cloth, and fine twisted linen. And they made the gold into thin sheets and cut it into meshes to work it into white silk, purple, woolen cloth, and fine linen with twine work, for which they made shoulders to be coupled together, because it was closed by the 2 edges. And the garnishing of the ephod, which was upon him, was of the same cloth and workmanship, of gold, and of white silk, and of purple, and of cloth, and of fine linen, as the Lord has commanded Moses. They made 2 stones of onyx, enclosed in an aperture of gold and engraved, as one engraves a seal with the names of the children of Israel, and they put them on the shoulders of the ephod, as stones to remember the children of Israel, as the Lord has commanded Moses. They also made the coverlet of fine cloths, like those of the ephod, that is, of gold, of white silk, of purple, of skins, and of a finely twisted linen. They made the breastplate double, square, 1 hand long and 1 hand wide. It was also double. They filled it with 4 rows of stones. The order was as follows: a ruby, a topaz, and a carbuncle in the first row. The second row, an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. In the third, a turquoise, an agate, and a hematite. In the fourth row, a chrysolite, an onyx, and a jasper, closed and inset in an opening of gold. So the stones were according to the names of the children of Israel, 2 after their names as signs, each after his name, according to the 2 tribes. Then they made on the bottom table chain plates at the ends of wood and pure gold. They also made 2 studs of gold and 2 rings of gold, and put the 2 rings at the 2 corners of the wooden plate. And the 2 rings at the corner of the covering slab, they also put 2 cheeks of gold. The other 2 ends of the 2 golden chains they also fastened into the 2 ends and put them on the shoulders of the ephod, on the front. In the same way they made 2 rings of gold and put them in the other 2 corners of the breastplate on the edge of it, which was inside the ephod. They also made 2 other rings of gold and put them on the 2 sides of the ephod, underneath, on the front side and on the outside against its couplings, on the bordered edge of the ephod. Then they fastened the breastplate by its rings to the rings of the ephod with a lace of white silk, so that it would be fastened on the fluted garniture of the ephod, and so that the breastplate would not come off the ephod, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Moreover, he made a robe of the ephod of wool and white silk. The hole in the tunic was in the center, like a surgeon's collar, with a border around the collar so that it would not tear. On the skirts of the robe they made pomegranates of white silk, purple, scarlet, and fine twisted linen. They also made bells of pure gold, put them between the pomegranates on the skirts of the robe, all around between the pomegranates. A bell and a pomegranate around the skirts of the robe to officiate, as the Lord has commanded Moses. Then they made cloaks of fine linen of wool for Aaron and his sons, the mitre of fine linen, the bonnets of fine linen, and the breeches of twisted linen, and the girdle of fine twined linen, of blown silk, of purple, and of leather. All was needlework, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Finally they made the plaque for the holy horn of fine gold, and wrote on it an inscription similar to the engraving of a seal, "Guest of the Lord." Then they tied a lace of white silk to fasten it on the mitre, as the Lord had commanded Moses. This was all the work for the tabernacle, that is, the tabernacle of congregation, finished. And the children of Israel did all that the Lord had commanded Moses, so they did. Then they brought the tabernacle to Moses, the tabernacle and all its instruments, its boards, its planks, its bars, its pillars, and its sockets. The skins of rams turned red, the badger skins, and the velvet skins, the ark of the testimony, its bars, and its merciate. The table with all its instruments, and the dishcloth. The pure candlestick, its lamps, that is, the lamps, ordained, all its instruments, and the oil for the light. The altar of gold, the oil for lighting, the fragrant incense, and the hanging of the tabernacle. The bronze altar, with its lattice of wood, its staffs, and all the instruments. The lower and its instruments, the courtyard curtains with its pillar and sockets, the hanging at the courtyard door, its ropes and pinnacles. And all the instruments of the tabernacle service, called the tabernacle of congregation. Finally, the garments for the service in the sanctuary, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his son for the priestly service. according to each point that the Lord had commanded Moses. The sons of Israel did all the work, and Moses observed all the work. And behold, they had done as the Lord had commanded. So they had done, and Moses blessed them. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, On the very first day of the first month you shall prepare the tabernacle, called the tabernacle of congregation. You shall place therein the ark of the testimony, and you shall fill it with the fire. You shall also bring in the table, and arrange it as required. You shall also bring in the candlestick and light its lamps. Thou shalt set up the altar of gold and incense before the ark of the testimony. Thou shalt place the hanging at the end of the tabernacle. Moreover, you shall place the altar of burnt offerings before the porch of the tabernacle, called the tabernacle of congregation. You shall make a washing place between the tabernacle of congregation and the altar, and you shall put water there. Then you shall lay the courtyard all around it, and hang the scaffolding on the door of the courtyard. Then thou shalt take the anointing ointment, thou shalt anoint the tabernacle and all that is therein. And thou shalt array it with all its instruments, that it may be holy. Thou shalt anoint the altar of burnt offerings and all its instruments, and shalt sanctify the altar, that it may be a most holy altar. You shall also anoint the lower and its instrument, and sanctify it. Then you shall lead Aaron and his sons to the entrance of the tabernacle of meeting, and you shall wash them with water. Then you shall put on Aaron's holy garments, anoint him, and sanctify him, that he may exercise the priestly ministry with me. You shall also bring his sons and clothe them with garments, and you shall sanctify them as you have sanctified their father, that they may exercise the priestly ministry with me. For their sanctification shall be a sign that the priesthood shall be everlasting to all their generations. Moses did so, according to all that the Lord had commanded him, and so he did. So the tabernacle was built on the first day of the first month of the second year. And Moses built the tabernacle, and fixed its foundations, and fastened its boards, and set it up its bars, and raised its pillars. Then he leveled the covering of the tabernacle, and put the covering on the outside of it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then he took and put the testimony in the ark, put the bars in the rings of the ark, and placed the mercy seat on the ark. He also brought the ark into the tabernacle, hung the mating craft on it, and coupled the ark of the testimony, as the Lord has commanded Moses. Moreover, he put the table in the tabernacle of the congregation, in the north side of the tabernacle, without the rampart. And he set the bread in order before the Lord, as the Lord has commanded Moses. He also put the candlestick in the tent of meeting, opposite the table, toward the south side of the tabernacle. He lit the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He also set the golden altar in the tent of meeting, in front of the table, and burned fragrant incense on it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Moreover, he hung the veil at the entrance to the tabernacle. Then he placed the altar of burnt offerings outside the tabernacle, called the tabernacle of congregation, and offered burnt offerings and sacrifices there, as the Lord had commanded Moses. In the same way he set up the washstand between the tabernacle of congregation and the altar, and put water there for washing. So Moses and Aaron and his sons washed their hands and feet there when they entered the tent of meeting, and when they came to the altar they washed, as the Lord had commanded Moses. Finally he raised up the courtyard around the tabernacle and the altar, and hung up the rampart at the door of the courtyard. So Moses finished the work. Then the cloud enveloped the tabernacle of congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tabernacle of congregation, because the cloud dwelt there, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Now when the cloud went up from the tabernacle, the children of Israel went forth on all their journeys. But if the cloud did not go up, they did not go on their journey, until the day it went up. For the cloud of the Lord was on the tabernacle by day, and the fire was in it by night. before the eyes of all the houses of Israel during their journeys.